going on, YouTube? Probably wondering why I'm standing here with Crazy Kelsey and our axes. Well, I'm going to teach you how to make them, because these would be great for Halloween, for, cosplay, birthday parties, bar mitzvahs, whatever you might need. So what will you need to make one of these bad boys? For my two-hander, I've got 32 inches of 2x2. I've got some leather cord. I've got some rope. I've got a piece of plywood that I cut down. A couple screws, a little bit of wood glue. It should be good. Now for the one-hander, it was, I think, 22 inches of 2x2, a little bit of cord, some rope, plywood, some screws. If you buy an 8-foot 2x2, you can actually make both of these. A little chunk of plywood, you should be good to go. So, we get this little bad boy started, huh? And here we have the plywood with the axe heads already drawn out. What I did is I had my son draw one up. I drew this one for the one-hander. This one's going to be for the two-hander. This will be the back for the two-hander. The most important thing, go crazy with your designs, but the most important thing to remember is this is what's going to be attaching to your 2x2. So you're going to want to make sure that you have enough room in there that you're able to get a couple of dowel rods in there to give it that extra support that it really needs, because you don't want this thing falling apart, especially if you're, swinging it at somebody. So let's go ahead and start cutting. All right, so what we're going to do next is we're going to take each piece of what's going to be the handle, and we're going to make a indent. This part's pretty much optional. You don't actually have to do it, but we're going to sink it in just a little bit to where we're going to be able to, give it a little bit extra sturdiness. All you have to do, take a pencil, try to center it up roughly, well, actually, exactly where you want it. Once you have that, just draw a nice little vine to where you have something like that. Now for the two-hander, it's going to be a little bit more difficult just because we're going to have to kind of line it up. About right there. Now the reason I'm doing this is because now I will flip it over in just a second. Try to get it centered. I'm sure you could measure it out if you really wanted to, but I'm lazy. This big heavy son of a gun. Make sure you have your marks dark enough to where you can see them, because if you're going to hollow this out, you want to make sure you know exactly where everything's going. Alright, next step that we're going to want to do is some whittling. I highly suggest using a fixed blade. A fixed blade will give you the advantage of you're not going to have to worry so much about cutting yourself with the blade folding. Don't use a kitchen knife. Use a real knife. If you don't have one, get one, because you're going to need it. To whittle it, I'm just going to, I'm going to whittle the blades down so it looks like it has more of an edge. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect. Always remember to cut away from me, kids. It doesn't have to be perfect, but the closer you can get it, the cooler it's going to look. And the nice thing is, since we're going for a Viking barbarian type look, if it is a little rough, it's not going to be so bad. It's going to be, have kind of a natural look. Like that, if, I don't know how well you can see it, like a chunk like that missing, might look bad if you're looking for a perfect, straight, everything great. But since we're kind of going for a rough look, it's not going to be a big deal. We'll whittle away at that here in just a second. Now, with your handles, this is going to be a matter of personal preference. You're basically going to want to get the handles just a little bit smaller than what you think would be optimum, just because we're going to be wrapping it in different stuff here in a little bit. And you want to make sure that when you put that wrapping on, it doesn't make it feel too big and bulky. Like a 2x2, even for somebody with big hands like mine, it's just too much. Now, when you're curving this out, the look you're going to want to go for is kind of rectangular once you get it all done. I mean, you could try to go circle, but the advantage to having a more rectangular feel is the fact that when you hold it, it's going to, naturally rest in your hand. You're not going to be able to spin it like this. You'll just be able to hold it, and it'll feel right. And if you do it, trust me, you're going to know what I'm talking about. All right, now look, I'm no whittling expert, but I'm going to try giving you the very basics of how to do it, or at least how I do it. Now, when you start off with a square piece of wood like this, what you want to do, shave it, go to the next one, shave it, next, shave it, and then as you start, you probably can't tell. Of course, the harder you press, the more wood you're going to take off. The more wood you take off, the quicker it's going to go. The problem is if you dig, you really dig in there, then it's going to become harder and harder to push it out. Plus, you're going to take a huge chunk of wood, and if you're not wanting to do that, it's not going to work out so hot. But what you want to do, don't go like this. If you go like this, you're going to be there for months, and it's going to get you nowhere. But for this project, since we're wanting a more rounded rectangle shape, just shave off that, and you're going to want to try getting rid of as many rough edges as you can. Like, don't leave anything like that, because it's going to probably, stick in your hand as you're fiddling around with it. And you just keep doing that. Oh, hold on, I dropped it. All right, we'll do one more little cut. And as you can see, I went ahead and got it all carved up for you. And now it feels like a proper whacking stick. Now, once you have all that done, go ahead and get all this stuff out of the way. If you have a Dremel, great. If not, you can also use a chisel. However you're able to get this stuff going, by all means, and just find the spots that you had cut out. Alright, so I went ahead and did a couple extra steps while I was off camera. And I went ahead and painted these. I used metallic paint to kind of give it that steel look. If you want to paint it black or whatever color you want to paint it, feel free. Now, since we're going to be connecting the spike and an axe on one side and a spike on the other, I went ahead and I took a dowel rod because I plan on screwing in through here to get to the axe to give it a little bit of extra strength. Put a dowel rod in there, so once the screws are in, I can just put the dowel rod in, glue it all together. It'll look good. For the regular axe handle, all I did was I pre-drilled a hole, and then I routed this out a little bit, and this way it fits in. Throw the screw in. Then once you have everything all ready, get you some handy dandy wood glue. Give it a nice little squirt. free to go a little bit crazy on it, because we can always fix this later. Get a little bit here and there. Get your holes lined up. Make sure it's in there good and snug. Now you can wipe off any excess glue that you have. And if you're not able to get it all, don't worry. I'll show you why. Don't forget your wood glue. I've already forgot to do this. Again, go crazy on it. Let's get you a nice little bead there. Smooth it out a little bit. And once you're ready, get it all lined up. Now for the back end, obviously I'm not going to be able to get a screw in here unless I toenail it in, and that would just look silly. So what I'm going to do, what I did, is I took a dowel rod, drilled it in through here, got that already glued in, lined up the hole, drilled a nice little hole in there. So now all I've got to do, and when you're using dowel rods, go a little bit extra on the glue. Don't be horsing around with it. You want to make sure everything sticks nice. Get that in there. Make sure when I'm pushing the glue in, it comes forward. Unfortunately, due to the very oddball shape, I don't think I'm going to be able to put a clamp on that. So I'm just going to set it to the side for right now. And we'll move on to the next step. Now, when you have the axe like this, I mean, it's technically ready to go, so just about anything you do from here is just going to kind of be like extra happiness. Alright, so what I'm wanting to do here is I'm wanting to cover up this hole and then kind of give it a more, you know, like this is how it's supposed to look like. You know, this was made back when, you know, they didn't have such modern conveniences as we do. I'm going to take a little bit of wood putty. Try getting it in there and as smooth out as I possibly can. You know, no real special tricks, just slap some in there. Try getting it as smooth as you can. Make sure you get all the holes filled in. Trying this pink stuff. I've never used it before, so I'm kind of curious on how it's going to turn out. So, in case you're wondering why I brought the box in, you're going to need a little bit of spray adhesive. And I'm using rope. I mean, if you have leather and you want to use it, by all means, feel free. Or if you don't want to do this step, or if you know you have some kind of material that you definitely want to use and you just think, oh, this looks so much cooler if this and this and this. I'm not that big of a cosplayer, don't get me wrong, I like it, but never been that much into it, so I've never really made an axe before or got all that into designing. I'll cut me off a nice little chunk of rope. Smooth this out just a little bit. I'm going to take my spray adhesive. Give a couple of blasts. Now keep in mind you're not really using this You know, this doesn't have to be permanent. It's more just kind of hold it in place while you do this. What I'm going to do, give it a couple wraps around like that. Now another thing you can do if you don't want to do the spray adhesive, or it's not holding, like it's really not doing a whole lot on mine, is get you some upholstery tacks. You could probably use thumbtacks, but you know, they're probably not quite as effective. Plus with the upholstery tacks, I mean, you can pick out designs, you can make it look pretty, you can make it look tough. Like, I mean, you got that right there. I kind of like the looks of that. Now, with this, it gives it just that, you know, oh yeah, okay, they screwed that, or not screwed that, they got it holding in there by a thread. Oh, that's pretty cool. Now for the handle, what I'm going to do is I have some leather cord, and again, I'm going to use a little bit of spray adhesive just to give it a little extra stick to it. But, you know, it's optional. You don't have to if you don't want to. Spray where you plan on your handle. And I'm sure there's fancier ways of doing this. I'm just doing it to get a handle going. Just wrap it around that. I'm wanting a little bit of the wood to kind of show through, just like it's an old tattered axe and it's been around. It's seen some stuff, and the cord seems to be holding a lot better than rope did. So I mean, if you go the spray adhesive route, that might be something to look into. So like this, I would definitely say, you know, get a little extra glue in there. It feels pretty nice. I go bunk some on my own head. It's time for the big axe. Same deal as before, except on this one I think I'm going to use a lot more rope than I did on the last one, just because it's a lot bigger axe head. And I mean, this rope that I'm using, I think it's like hemp rope. It's super cheap, so you know, I'm not afraid to use, you know, cut off too much and then, oh no, I'm out of rope. It's always better to cut off too much and make it too short, because if you cut it too short, then you're going to really be up the creek. And then again, this is all, you know, about your design. This is where, you know, I can show you basic ways of doing it. But, you know, in the end, this is going to be your axe. You can do it how you want it. If you want, you know, to do little crisscrosses, like I'm trying to figure out how to do, you can do that. Wrap it around. I mean, like I said, this is where you get to really let your imagination go wild. Personally, I kind of like the rough, I'm not too sure what I'm doing look, because I'm rough and I'm not too sure what I'm doing. So it seems to work out pretty good. I actually kind of, oh, I like it, man. Yeah, check it out. Looks alright. Okay, now this, since it's a two-hander, you know, you got two spots. You can either, you know, do the whole thing and rope. You can leave it bare. You can do, you know, again, do whatever your imagination desires. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the base with a little bit of cord, and I think I'm going to do the top with. Now, if you're seeing this, you might see that I'm leaving a little bit at the bottom, and that's just because if your hands are going there, you're holding your axe wrong. And since I'm going to be going over it a couple of extra times this go around, I'm going to go ahead and Pull a little extra. Alright, now I'm ready to go crack some skulls. So, there you have it. Hope you enjoyed this video. And, be safe. Have fun out there. And crush your enemies.